Hey everybody, welcome to my kitchen. It's another Tuesday afternoon. It's a beautiful day outside, making me think about getting out and eating outdoors and socializing. And I thought that this dish would be a perfect appetizer if you're having people over sitting around the picnic table. This is called Puttanesca. It is an Italian dish. It is also part of the Mediterranean diet. It features tomatoes, which are wonderful anti-inflammatory foods, along with olives, salty olives, and capers, and something that you might not think about is putting into a dip, but anchovies, which adds a little something to the dish. So the name of the dish is Puttanesca. And there's a lot of controversy over that name. But before I get into the story, what I'm going to do is start to heat up my saute pan and cut up my onion. I'm going to cut up a small onion. It'll be about a quarter cup once I'm done, and I'm going to do it as a fairly small dice. So what I like to do, cut it horizontally, and then I go down from top to bottom so that when I start chopping, I get a nice uniform size, all my pieces, more or less. And since this is a dip, I'm going to keep my pieces fairly small. Here's one that got away. See, sometimes it just doesn't do what you expect it to do. So I've got my half of my onion chopped. Let's go for the other. So, talking about the title, Puttanesca. It's an Italian word. It means ladies of the evening. And there's a lot of debate as to what this name means. Why would they name a dish after ladies of the evening? And many have said that it's because this dish is so quick and easy to make, they could make it between clients and have something to eat. Is that true? We don't know. There's others that say that's probably not really true. Probably the reason is that this is a spicy dish, a lot of attitude, and it has a very pungent flavor. So, you decide. I like to think it's a combination of the two. Why decide, right? All right, so I've added in my onions now, and I'm just going to let them saute for a little while. Let me grab a wooden spoon, give that a little stir. I just want these to caramelize, start to brown, to soften. So in my recent cooking class, my cooking program, we made puttanesca with shrimp. And a lot of times that's the way you see the puttanesca, is that as a sauce. But today I thought we would make it as a dip. So what I'm going to try and do is cook it down. I may not have enough time in the 20 minutes that I'm talking to you now, but I want to try to thicken it up a little bit. And you can use that as a dipping sauce on its own, or you can use it with hummus, to top hummus, which is what we're going to do today. I made some hummus a little bit earlier. Hummus, again, another dish that's simple and easy to make. And if you want the recipe for that, you can just go to my website, eveyschweig.com, and you'll find the recipe there, along with a lot of other anti-inflammatory, anti-aging foods. And, you know, I say anti-aging, not that they're going to turn the age around, right? We all age. We can't stop that. But what's good about these foods are they contain anti-inflammatory compounds. Inflammation is what ages us more quickly. So these help slow down the process rather than accelerating it. So what I'm doing now is I'm just crushing my garlic. There's a couple of ways that we can do the garlic. One is just to flatten it, as you see that I'm doing here with my knife, and then cut it very finely. Again, I just want it nice and small because it's going into this dip. I don't want any big pieces. Another thing that we can do is if you have a mincer, a garlic mincer, or and push down. I'm going to wait a minute to wait for the garlic to cook a little bit long. I mean, sorry, wait for the onion to cook a little bit longer. I don't want the garlic to burn, and it's nice just to add it in at the end before I add in other ingredients. The other nice thing about cutting those onion pieces small is they cook a little bit more quickly. So by the way, while we're waiting for this to brown, I just wanted to let you know, I am contemplating opening up a community membership group that you are invited to join. I haven't gotten the details down yet, but I just wanted to launch the idea where I'm going to migrate all of these programs that I'm doing onto one group website. Actually, it'll be within Facebook, hopefully. Again, I'm looking into the details. But I'm hoping you will join me for this, where we'll be doing cooking classes each week. You will be a member of my programs that I do. I'll be doing them seasonally, so I'll have programs where we'll all be cooking together and you'll have foods for the week, along with my blogs, information on healthy eating, inflammation, the microbiome, all of these things that are so important for our health. And hopefully this will be a way for us to communicate, to interact, and keep each other feeling and looking younger and healthier with more vitality, right? So I'll keep you posted with that. Okay, I'm going to add in my garlic. So that was the garlic that I chopped. And now I'm just going to take my mincer and crush it right into that, directly into the saute pan. And just give it a scrape off there. I'm going to use the back of the knife. That actually helps get more off. There you go. All right, and I will clean that later. So I'm going to give that a stir. So I'm using a hot plate here, but typically you would probably have this on about a medium temperature right now. Medium low, it depends on how hot, whether you have a gas or an electric stove. But this is coming along very nicely. So what I want to do in this time, while that is browning a little bit, I'm going to open up. I have a can of, so that was 3 small cloves of garlic, probably about 2 teaspoons of minced. I'm now going to add a can of diced tomatoes. Italian Roma tomatoes are great for this too. What I like about having them diced is they're already cut into nice small chunks, and I'm just going to add that right in. My hot plate doesn't tend to get as warm as my stove does, but it's better than me turning my back to you, right? But what I might do is, while I'm prepping the other ingredients, I might transfer that saute pan to my stove so that it does cook along a little bit more quickly. So I'm going to put this at about a medium, just shy of medium, maybe a medium low. And while that is simmering, I want to prepare my Kalamata olives. So I'll be adding in some Kalamata olives, some capers, let's see, the anchovies that I mentioned, and some tomato paste. So it's always difficult to get your olives out of the jar. You just grab a fork. So sometimes what I like to do is have a little strainer and a bowl and just pour out, scoop out the olives that I need. I'm going to do about a 1/4 cup, which is about the size of this strainer. And I'm going to give my olives a chop. Now, if you don't like to chop, you can, and you know what I'll do later on? I will pour this liquid back into the jar It's a clean bowl, so this will keep the olives that are still in there nice and moist. So I'm just going to give these olives a chop. They are pitted, so I don't have to worry about finding pits in my dip. All right, so I'm going to come across now the other direction. And again, I want to give this a fairly nice chop. Let me just take a look at what's going on back behind me here. Yes, this is simmering nicely now. I'm very pleased with that. All right. And back to where I was. So, Kalamata olives are very salty. So I will not be adding any additional salt to the dish. I find it's nice and salty and peppery all on its own. Part of that spiciness, right? That we remember we were talking about, that Puttanesca spiciness. So I have my olives now. I am also going to do a similar thing with I'm just going to rinse out my strainer. For my capers, I'm going to get about a tablespoon of my capers. And again, they're even harder to get to. I think I'm finishing up the bottom of my capers here. All right, so I have my capers now ready to go. Let me give this a stir. And I really want my tomatoes to cook down. I want some of those juices to evaporate. But while we're waiting for that, I still have something to show you. So we'll only use about 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. What I like to do is I have this is actually an ice cube tray that I've repurposed. I don't know if you can see, but on half of it here, this is my basil in some olive oil. And here I have tomato paste. So last time I did a dish, I didn't use all of the tomato paste. So I found that each cube is about 1 tablespoon. So I can just pop out one of these cubes and I'm just going to put it right into my saute pan to thaw. And these have been sitting out for a minute. So, and they have a special silicone base that allow me to simply pop a cube down. Here, let's do it this way. I turn it over, pop it, and my ice cube comes right out. So I'm just going to throw that right in. And I'm going to stick this back in the freezer. Just a little trick. Makes it nice. This way you don't feel like you're wasting tomato paste when you open it up. All right, so let's bring this back on over so you can see what's going on here. You can see that tablespoon of tomato paste that I put in there. Now, typically I might want to let this cook down a little bit longer, but in the interest of time, I think we're fine. I will let this dish simmer after the program is over, but I can add now my Kalamata olives that I've chopped up, and I can add my tablespoon of capers. I added my tomato paste. Let's make sure I've got everything. Okay, so now we have our anchovies. Now again, I had opened up these anchovies for my Mediterranean cooking program. I had some left over, which is a good reason for doing this program here today. So I only need about a tablespoon of chopped up anchovy, which I'm thinking is going to be maybe about 3 fillets. And I really don't need to, unlike the olives, where I was being kind of particular, and the onions were being kind of particular about how big the pieces were that I was adding in. I don't need to be that particular with the anchovy because they tend to fall apart. We like to see they melt into the sauce. So that is what I'm doing now. I'm just adding in, as you can see, just kind of a roughly chopped bunch of anchovies, and that's a great way to use up the rest of these anchovies. Now, I stored them in olive oil, so if they are submerged under the olive oil, they don't oxidize. They tend to stay fresher longer. So knowing that, I'm going to leave these submerged, and I can put them back in the refrigerator, and they'll keep for a fairly long time. But back to our sauce, or I should say our dip, because it's going to be more of a dip. And in this case, we're going to use it as a topping for our hummus. Remember I said that? So, well, that smells fabulous. Now, I'm not going to add salt to this. I think it's got plenty of salt in and of its own. I will add a little bit of pepper. Give it some more of that spiciness. All right. I almost forgot to turn off my stove behind me. That would not be good. Okay. Oh, this is smelling wonderful. Now, let me show you what it's looking like now. Oops, I don't want it to slide out of the pan there. So it's thickening up, but I would like it to cook a little bit more and have the tomatoes soften a little bit more. I like when the flavors blend, and letting it simmer on low with the lid on will do that, because I don't think it needs to thicken up that much. So I don't need the liquid to evaporate. But let me just double check. I almost forgot. Just to give it that extra little kick, I'm going to add in a little bit, just a sprinkle of red pepper flakes. Probably about 1/8 of a teaspoon of that. I can always add in more later on. And if you like your foods hot and spicy, by all means, add in more of those red pepper flakes. All right, that's all of our ingredients. So how do we use this dip, right? As I said, you can use it, you can put it over fish. So if you have grilled chicken or grilled fish, perfect to put this on top. You could bake the fish with this on top as well. Another way to use it is, instead of a dipping sauce, now if the tomatoes were smaller, you could use this as a dipping sauce, like instead of cocktail sauce. So instead of putting your shrimp in it, I could cook the shrimp in the sauce right now and have it as a dish. Serve it over, I don't do pasta, but I would do spaghetti squash, or I could put it over quinoa, cauli rice. All of the above would taste fabulous and make a nice full meal. The other thing that we're going to do now, though, is use it with our hummus. So let me show you how I would present this. So I just have a bowl here, and I made some hummus earlier today. And as I said, if you're interested in finding out, hummus is super simple to make. I have the recipe on my website. Just go to eveyschweig.com, look under the recipes, under hummus. So I'm going to spoon out, let me show you. Some hummus. And then I'm going, with the back of my spoon, I'm just going to make a well in the hummus. All right, and I'm just making a small serving here. You could use a bigger bowl if you'd like. I'm going to take a little bit of my Puttanesca now. So this is the hummus has a nice mild creamy flavor. It balances really well with the tanginess and the texture of your Puttanesca. So I'm going to just put the Puttanesca on top, and I'll show this to you up close, just for display, I love to put a little bit of parsley around. And in this case, it's dried parsley. I actually dehydrated some parsley that I had bought that I couldn't use. So I thought it would make a nice contrast, that green with the red. And there you have your dish. Now, I have, for dipping, let me put this over on the back burner. Literally on the back burner. You could serve your crudité or your vegetables on the side and let people dip themselves. Or you can arrange these strips around your dip, like so, just for display. I have here some sliced zucchini. This could be cucumber if you'd like. I just happen to have a zucchini. I thought that that would make a nice display. And there you go. It's a beautiful dish. You could sprinkle some more of that parsley on top if you'd wish. Where did I put my, here we go. And you are all ready to serve your dish. So I hope you enjoyed this dish. As I said, it is a healthy anti-inflammatory. Anti-inflammatory means it is ageless in the way that it means that it will age you less quickly because of those antioxidants that it contains, those anti-inflammatory chemicals that keep us young and vibrant and energetic. I hope you adopt some of these ideas. I'd love to hear if you do. And I look forward to seeing you soon on that community membership group that I was talking about. Hope to see you soon. Have a fabulous week. Please enjoy this day. If it's nice and warm by you, hopefully, if it's not today, then tomorrow. And if not, spring is coming and it gives us a little bit of hope, doesn't it? All right. I'll see you next week. Take care now. Bye-bye.